I see you found our little hiding spot in the universe. Don't get too comfortable. This is a place where you will find those with an experience that's out of this world, or possibly deep within your life. I welcome you to the Oracles with James Tyson. Lean forward and listen. We will pull you into a supernatural journey with guests from around the world, each one experiencing some of the most extraordinary phenomena this wee planet has to offer. I wish to invite you to support the program through the Oracles with JamesTyson.com Patreon link. For as little as $3 per month, you qualify for a free monthly psychic reading, a past life regression, and exclusive access to our filmed interviews. Don't lower your guard. That's just the beginning as we give back. When I have reached 2,222 members, we will be giving away monthly trips to supernatural hotspots and conferences across North America. Don't run. I can see you. With a limit of 4,500 Patreon supporters, you will want to get your passports ready, as every third month, we will include paranormal conferences and tours in Europe and Australia. I know you can hear me. Visit theoracleswithjamestyson.com and click on the Patreon link. Where are you listening? That's the Patreon button at theoracleswithjamestyson.com. Now, here are the Oracles with James Tyson.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you, Liam, and thank you, everyone, for tuning to this episode of The Oracles with James Tyson. I am James Tyson, according to my parents and my birth certificate. Anyway, today on our show, we have a wonderful human being, Christine Alexandria. She's a transformational coach. And I haven't spoken to Christine for probably 2 years. And amazing, she does angel communication. Now, allow me to tell you her story in brief, because it's a work in progress. She loves stories, and this one I hope she will love too, because it's about her. And it basically is about her empowering you to be you. Just to be. Yes, be yourself. Christine grew up in a fairly idyllic childhood on the eastern shore in Delaware. That's on the other side of the country from me, but I'm not going to rouse her for that. The sun rises in her area. Her parents still married at about 59 years now and counting. Loved all three of them, kids growing up, and encouraged them to be strong and unique. Christine studied ballet from a master for over 11 years. And I know what that's like because my little one's doing that too. She was a captain of her flag squad and color guard, etc., and did all the things expected as the eldest and designated good girl of the family, the one the others are supposed to look up to. Now, flash forward many years. She is married, still to the same guy. Yeah, the same guy. And they have two amazing young women of their own, which is kind of like I have amazing young women too. Most of the time they're amazing. So they're great examples of Christine and her husband's love. And she was a domestic goddess. She was the master juggler, like cooking, cleaning, scheduling, cleaning up litter boxes, driving the kids all over the place. It's just that juggling school activities and after school activities. So you're good, full-time, special kind of mom. She created a good atmosphere for them. But just like you do, things are similar to what you do, attempting to be the ultimate, be that ultimate people pleaser, and be the good girl, and be satisfied with it all. And it was about that time in their daughter's life, they started pull away from the proverbial apron strings that Christine had, and she began to feel a little bit empty as the kids are growing up and getting ready to move out of that nest and that little empty nest. Now, empty inside, not knowing where to turn for fulfillment now because she was so busy. The daughters were there and watching them grow. And about that time, thankfully, the angelic realm announced themselves, or to Christine anyway, or to rather remind her of all of our connection to each other. it was through their love and insistence that Christine grew. She grew back into being Christine. Honestly, it is still a work in progress for Christine,
Oh,
as it is for all of us. And she started to take classes. Now, classes were taken with her husband, asking constantly, what do you do with this kind of knowledge? And her answer, dunno. And these are affectionately to Christine called the dunno years, which is kind of funny. For Christine, really didn't know where she was going and what was her path at this point. So after much marinating and morphing and even birthings and rebirthings, it comes down to a succinct passion. Christine does her, I guess you'd call it a divination that you've got. You do it through listening and helping, and you dig deep and gladly provides the necessary support and tools. And yes, the angels are still helping, and they're part of the package as well. She's an empath. Her empathetic side, or as you were, your empathic side, and all Christine's various trainings that can help cut through nonsense quicker, get all geared up for everyone to be themselves and just be. Christine, I want to welcome you to the Oracles with James Tyson. It's been a long time. How are you?
It has been a long time. And you said 2 years. I'm like, wow, it's been that long.
Yeah, it's
Crazy.
it is crazy. I think about you every day, and you remember why?
Oh dear, no.
I have the Archangel Michael tattoo on my right forearm.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
Thanks for that. I forgot all about that.
that was my Sturgis tattoo. When I was down in Sturgis, people are going, "Oh, did you get your Sturgis tattoo?" And I go, "Yeah, look at this." And they go, "Oh, what's that?" It's not a naked lady or some skeleton on a motorcycle. It's the Archangel Michael from my friend Christine Alexandria. She is gifted these images. So I have one on my left forearm that is an image for the Archangel Michael that would have been from about 150 AD, not the original. And then yours on my right forearm. So I've got my Michaels, because Michael is one of my guys. Michael
right.
and
It
Haniel.
is. Big Mike. You know, it's all about the protection. And I forgot you had that tattoo. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You just made my day.
Now, one of the things that's really cool about Christina, if you want, go to her website. It's www.angelchatter, all one word, angelchatter.com. And she's got a blog. She does aromatherapy. She's got books, Angel Chatter, Heavenly Guidance, gifts, jewelry. She sells sacred tools, and she also has does mentorship. She's all over the place. Not all over the place. She is on that website, but she's got a lot going for her. Well, let's start back let's start at the beginning, go to the end, and then stop. It really came later on in life for you. This whole, I just want to call it a second awakening.
That's a perfect way to describe it. And it did. Apparently, however, because there's always a however, I've been doing this my whole life. Like you, we're an empath, which means we can sense other people's energy, what they're going through. And I've always had that, but of course, not knowing that was such a thing growing up. You tend to think you're overly sensitive. You got to grow up, buck up here. And not that our parents were at that mindset, society in general was. But it wasn't until I was in my, 30s that I was having a reading, and the woman, and I was the only, person in the house, and the woman calls, it was a phone reading. The woman calls in Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Isis, and Archangel Ariel, who I hadn't heard of, I thought, until that point. But before she could go on to the next person she was calling on or the rest of the reading, I jumped in. I went, "Oh, Pinky!" But I said it really, really loud. And that's really all I remember about the entire reading. And because it left me shaking my head and scratching my head the rest of the reading, going, what the heck was that all about? What is this Pinky? What is this? So that night I go to bed and I said, okay, because I was just starting to get back into this. So I was starting, putting a name to an association, to an energy, to what they're known for. I was starting to, do my little, note cards. And I said, okay, everybody that was at this reading, front and center. So they come filing in the bedroom, and then Ariel comes in. But because now I'm expecting her, I went, it's you. She's my guardian angel.
Oh.
And many know her as the angel of animals. She's not. She's the angel of courage, being more courageous. And it was interesting because I have, you have Michael's sigil on your arm, and she has given me a sigil for her. And I did some work for a woman, and she gifted me a beautiful cloisonne pendant with her sigil, and it came back red, and it's gorgeous. I love this. So of course, then I ordered more to then sell via my website. But I said, well, what is it with the pinky and the red? And she goes, and so Ariel says, well, think about it. When you were little, a babe in the mere crib, if I had come in with all of my fire and courage energy and red and all of that, very, very powerful, it would have been intimidating. I'm like, okay. So she goes, so I soften my presence to pink. Pink is fluffy. Pink is approachable. It's so gushy and yummy, right? You just kind of want to go into pink. But the stronger you feel, the more comfortable, the more courageous you become to speak your truth, walk your talk, the deeper her resonance comes to continue to encourage you. Like, oh, that's really interesting. So I was having a client came in, and she purchased one of Ariel's pendants. And I keep getting drawn to looking at it during her reading. And I looked at her at one point. I said, I swear your pendant throughout this reading is getting deeper. It was one of the coolest things we had ever witnessed. So she took it off and she went, oh my gosh, it is more red. So that back in the 30s, that one incident proved to me I'm not going nuts. Yes, I do hear voices, but it's the angelic realm. It's the ascended masters. And as you and I were discussing before we started the show, I'm also talking more and more to the earthbounds, the people that have crossed over. So doing a bit of mediumship work. So it continues to grow and expand. So yeah, my second awakening is right. Spot on.
Now you have, you say that Ariel's your guardian angel. I was told that I have two, well, I wasn't told they were guardians. They were just angels, archangels that were very strong in me. One was Michael.
Sure.
And the other one is Heniel.
Yep.
And do you have two that are kind of powerful for you too?
I have my gang. And my gang talks with me collectively. It's growing. We're now, I think I'm up to 18, but they will, because it all depends on what I'm working on. So I'm working on my second oracle deck. So that's channeled information. So there's Metatron helping to open up, make clearer that conduit, but it's also Gabriel making it appealing, creatively and working through that. So it depends what I'm working on. And like this weekend, we have a client spending a weekend with us. So they are going to be all present all the time. It's going to be quite crowded in the house for a while, but depending on what we are working on together to help kickstart her life. So everybody has one guardian angel that has been with them for their entire lifetimes, which means they are with you for every single life. But depending what you are in any given life, will be your gang, your posse, whatever you want to call them, who's with you. Sometimes not say too much, but so much so that people may mistake them for a guardian angel because they're so imprinted within your soul for that life. So yeah, absolutely. Hannah, you are a manifesting magnet, my friend. The way you are creating and reinventing, you are creating your heaven on earth reality. That is all Haniel's gig.
Oh, okay.
right? So that's Haniel. It's that union of the heaven on earth. It's the sacred geometry symbol of the Vesca Pisces, which is really funny because I was just writing about that for the new Oracle deck and right before we started talking today. Michael, without a doubt, you're a former Mountie, right?
Yeah.
Protection,
Royal Canadian Mounted Police. That's,
right?
yeah.
So that's Michael's gig. So very much a Michael and Haniel connection for you.
Mm-hmm. And the Haniel too has been explained why I have more personal friends that are female than male, because she is more of a female energy.
Yes.
And I can relate. I can walk into a group of women. It was kind of funny when I was in the Mountie training school. I was back in the day. It was 32 people in each troop or each class, and they were all men or all women. And a new group of women's troop came, and we were on the other side of the academic building on a break. And I looked at this new group, and I walked over and started talking to them, and to kind of break the ice and find out where they were from and things like that. And one of the guys in my troop said, "How did you do that?" And I said, "How did I do what?" He said, "You just walked up to them." Well, damn, I was 32 years old. I wasn't afraid of them. I used to coach women's box lacrosse. Are you kidding? Where I used to break up fights with two 25-year-old women beating each other with sticks. I was like, walking up to somebody and they're talking. It's not a big deal. And he said, "Oh, I could never do that." And I said, "Well, it's easy. They're just people."
And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And see, it's Haniel's not only the heaven on earth, but if you think of a Vesca Pisces, it is the joining of the left and the right, the feminine, the masculine. So you're that beautiful conduit, James, that does get both sides of the coin.
Oh, that makes sense then. Yeah. Yeah. In hindsight, this whole thing, like you, I came upon this, came upon it in 2012 for me. It's all hindsight, looking back and going, "Oh, that's why," or
Right?
"Oh, that's
Funny,
why I saw that," or
if I know what I knew then, wow. But you can see how they've always been lining you up for where you are now.
yes,
It's rather cool.
it is. It is rather cool because I read things. I will I start reading cards for somebody, and I'm more fascinated that I can do this than the people are getting the message. They're getting a message going, "Oh, that's really cool," and I'm going, "Yeah, that's really cool," because that just came out of my mouth. I didn't know where that came from.
Love it.
We're both on an adventure. We're talking to Christine Alexandria. She has a wonderful website. If you want to go to angelchatter.com, look up all the different things that Christine does with her divination and her, it's almost like your gift. You have these gifts that you've unwrapped in a later time in your life, but they've all been sitting waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. And and with you too. And it's a gift. And every day a new present shows itself, and how I'm going to help a client or work on a project or go outside, go on one of my magical walks in the woods and discover something really cool. Whether I was out walking with my neighbor and I'm introducing nature to her, it's been rather interesting. So we're out walking a couple of months ago, and I said, I've never seen an owl in the wild.
Really?
In the wild, I've certainly heard them, but I've never seen them.
Interesting.
I've seen them in zoos and things like that, but never in the wild. So just one of those things just kind of came out of my mouth. Within minutes, I kid you not, within minutes, one flew by at my shoulder height and kept going. And I grabbed her arm and "Did you just see that?" And she went, What is that?" And I said, I was pretty sure it was an owl. I go, maybe it was a hawk, but it was awfully quiet. So I go and I track it down, and I want to make sure that what I hoped was an owl, in fact, was. And I did. So I found it in the trees. Never did get a good picture because it was just a bit too far away, but it's that simple sometimes. Just that genuine. So of course I've since said, I've never seen a unicorn in person before. Now they're laughing at me, but but it can be that simple sometimes. It's just, that's that gift. you just keep unwrapping it and you discover something new about yourself. What's your secret power for today, and just keep going forward and going forward. Makes it fun.
Oh yeah. Don't get too carried away with what does it mean when you actually see an owl, whether it is the old Welsh thing to do with fertility, and if a pregnant woman hears a hoot, she'll become pregnant, or the Greeks and Romans associated with a goddess Athena of prophecy and wisdom, or who knows, you could be, if you're Christian, you could look at it as evil and link them with Lilith, Adam's first wife,
Exactly. So,
but honestly, they're just owls. And especially when you say, I've never seen one. Okay, we're going to gift you one, because there was one actually not too far away.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to have it.
Fly by her right now, so make sure she sees you. And she'll get all excited and be like, a 6-year-old girl. And it'll be an amazing thing that she'll talk about for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that's the fun of life. We have to get outside. I shared a story with you before we started our show. Our dog recently left, and it's been a very big thing. So I'm out in the woods, and that was her and my time. And I'm like, I'm going to go back home. And all of a sudden, she shows up. Of course, and keep in mind she's crossed over, and she says, "Come on, I want to show you something really cool." And I'm like, okay, fine. Now I'm intrigued. Am I going nuts? Am I hoping to see her? Even doing what I do, am I hoping that I'm going to see her, or is this indeed really her? So I go up to this spot where she used to love to hang out, and there's not one, but there are 3 beautiful does just hanging out there. And we used to go to the woods 3, 4, 5 times a week. And we would walk 3 miles as a short walk. We would go 5, 6 miles at a clip. Never had we seen deer just hanging out. So this was something I'm going to hold close to my heart for quite a while, for many, many reasons. But again, sometimes you just ask, you need to leave your home. You're not going to win the lottery. You're not going to win the Publishers Clearinghouse hoping they're going to show up. You have to be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, pay attention to those signs that, come on, I want to show you something cool, and see where it goes.
My very first reading in 2012, when all these things are pointed out to me, my mother came through and said, "Oh, by the way, you're not going to win the lottery."
Yeah.
What? Oh, come on, Mom. I like just having the ticket in my pocket for 2 weeks and not checking it, and having that what if. Right. And then checking it, and it says, "You are a loser," and then throwing it away and buying another one, and then having that what if for a couple more weeks. I keep thinking, okay, we have free will. I wonder if I can change that. My mom's just giggling. No, you're not going to win the lottery. It's okay.
Yeah. So do you still buy the tickets? And
of course, because I have the what if moment anyway. Because what if? My mom's been wrong before. Well, not since she's crossed, but
this one too.
Yeah, yeah. But to ask or to think things, to manifest as it's been coming to know or knowing now. It's I find that we get the things we need before we get the things we want.
Sometimes the things we need, we're not real crazy about it. They can be somewhat traumatic, or it's because it's somewhere along the line. The thing we need is a lesson.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it's pushing us out of the nest. So, you shared I like stories, and I do like stories. So as part of this second awakening, as you lovely have labeled it, I had a bunch of amazing, lovely friends back in this old neighborhood. And there were 4 or 5 of us, me included. But in the course of 2 weeks, they all dumped me, which is pretty traumatic. I did my best Sarah Barnhart person. I could have gotten an Oscar on this one. It's just like, oh my God, woe is me. I guess I'll go eat worms. What is wrong with me? And 2 out of the 4 were neighbors, so people I had to see on a regular basis. But you know what? I knew deep down, it wasn't that they were bad people by any means. But it gets to a point, I would start talking about angels or feng shui or something. They would literally go, oh, there she goes again. That's not what a friend does. Well, not in my book. But it was one of those, well, I don't know what else is out there. I guess I'll just kind of continue to hang out with these people, and maybe I'll get them to come over and play on my side of the tracks for a bit. And we'll talk angels and feathers and all that stuff. And the gang said, yeah, it's not going to happen that way. So they had to rip the Band-Aid off
Yeah.
and have them all dump me. And we lived there for about a little over a year after the breakup.
Hmm.
And by the time we moved, I literally thanked in person two of them. And they looked at me like I had gone nuts. And I said, but because if we hadn't broken up, I really wouldn't be pursuing this line, this what gets me really excited. So thank you. And they got it. They did get
Yeah.
it. But it's just some of those times, those things we need, we backpedal a whole lot because don't you find that people in general, James, are kind of lazy? We're very
No. Yes.
we're very we're very complacent. I want that, swimsuit illustrated body, but oh, it's too cold out. I don't want to go to the gym today.
Yeah.
So we do that really basic stuff. Oh, I'm going to go on a diet as I'm shoving in my, my bag of chocolate chips. We do these things to self-sabotage ourselves until we whine about it enough, and then until something will happen, what we need to force us to where we really do want to be. So
Yes.
I've learned my lessons. My lessons are getting a bit easier because I'm listening better. So instead of the Sarah Barnhart, those Oscar-winning moments that I can perform, I will pay better attention to the signs and the inspirations and act upon them quicker. So I still get the lesson, not necessarily as traumatic most of the time.
Or at least in hindsight.
Or in hindsight, yes.
Yeah. It still may be as traumatic as heck, but who knows? It's like,
Right.
yeah, but they're learning experiences. We learn every hiccup, every bump we go through is a learning experience. And
It's
if we don't treat it as such, we're doomed to repeat it over
yeah.
and over again until we get the idea of, oh, I'm supposed to learn from this. I
Oh.
don't stick the fork
I
in
didn't
the
know
wall socket.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Well, let's go.
Oh my Lord, I've been there. Talking to Christine Alexandria, she is everything. Well, you're not totally everything. You're a transformational coach. You're author. You've making your own oracle cards. Now, the Angel Chatter Heavenly Guidance.
Yes.
What is that about?
Well,
Pretend I haven't read it.
okay. So my very first product was the Oracle cards. 44 cards, 14 angels, 15 if you include Guardian Angel. And that was a big coming out party for me when that product came out. And we started selling it, and people started asking me, "Can you teach me? Can you tell me more about this?" And first, like, "Oh, that's sweet. Oh, that's nice. Oh, look at that. Another one asked me." So I was ignoring them the best to my ability. And finally, I couldn't anymore. So Angel Chatter Heavenly Guidance takes every angel in the deck, 15, now including Guardian, and there's an entire chapter devoted to that angel. So they follow the same formula. Do they have a chakra association? What is it? And what is that chakra known for? Is it balanced or imbalanced? These are some of the traits. What's their crystal affiliation? Oh, here's my personal experience with that particular angel. Here's an activity. It's your homework. If you want to continue to do it, it includes some affirmations, crystals. It talks about them in general. So talking about Big Mike, what's Big Mike known for? Protection. He is the patron saint of the police force in the United States, all about protecting you as you continue, whether it's going and running off and doing errands, or going deeper into your meditation, or as a practitioner, you calling in Michael first, so you and your clients are energetically protected. So there's all sorts of ways that Michael comes into play. So that's just, a little snippet of that. And then what's really, really cool, we had a fantastic person who happens to be my youngest child, who was also very gifted. She channeled each of the mandalas. So there are 15 mandalas, one for each of the angels. that it's included in the book. And embedded within the mandala is each angel's sigil. So they're not just really intricate and really pretty to look at. They're very powerful. My students, they get a full page of the mandala as part of their homework with each angel. One of their assignments is indeed to go back to, school and color them. And one of them has taken that to heart and has colored every single one, which is great because that was indeed her homework, but then has had them framed, and she has them hanging in her healing space. So it's really cool on how this is all playing out and continues to expand.
Describe to me what a mandala is.
So a mandala in general form is going to be, it's a really good question. An intricate, usually the mandalas that I've seen, that I am familiar with, are going to be circular in general, in an abstract. And they're going to have many aspects of it. So people will have seen certainly the chakra symbols, and those are often embedded into some sort of flower. It's a lotus of sorts, and people will build upon them. So that's something a lot of the folks that are listening now go, oh, okay, that's a mandala. There are certainly dozens of mandala coloring books out there, but it offers the person who is coloring it, looking upon it, a chance to soften their gaze, a chance to reconnect to their heart, to the birthplace of their soul, to the energy that this mandala is offering. Ideally, each mandala is going to offer a sense of peace, a sense of oneness, reminding that person to be.
Okay.
And it builds from there. And, like I said, I have the different, the 15. So Michael will be this is going to be more protective energies. Raphael, who is the angel of healing, is going to bring in obviously more healing energies. And it just continues to go on from there.
Now, the image that I have on my forearm, the Michael tattoo that I have,
yes,
it's called the Power of Michael. So there's that, the little circle in the end of almost like a pendulum.
Yep.
As that swings, does that mean something different? Like the way it is set up, it's right over top of the base, the T base, the little circle.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I've seen you post it where it's a little bit lower.
Oh, interesting.
And I was wondering if is that something that you see moving sometimes, or?
Well, confession, yes. But
Okay.
Nobody else has ever called me on it. So you actually kind of got me a little flummoxed right now.
Okay. Well, you know what I'll do is,
surprised that you did.
yeah,
Yes,
I have something. I'll send you a couple of different ones that you've posted where it's moved.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm thinking that's really cool because I know you called this one the Power of Michael, so that's kind of why I got it.
Right. Well, it is. So when I did the Oracle deck, I channeled the deck and guidebook in 2 weeks. And one of the reasons they had me create it was simplicity in mind. You think of all the Oracle decks that are out there, and they're beautifully illustrated. And what I was finding, too many or more of my clients were starting to pay more attention to the illustration and what does it mean versus the angel's message. And they said, yeah, we got to stop that. So the imagery on each of the Oracle cards, there is an abstract rose in the upper left-hand corner because everything does indeed come from love. And then the angel's sigil. But those sigils didn't come out or weren't given to me until, oh gosh, maybe a little over a year after I did the guidebook and deck. We tried a few things, and at best it looked like a preschooler did it. And so certainly wasn't something I wanted to release and hope somebody would buy. And a friend at the time said, what about symbols? And I went, ooh, yes, that's it. So sat down, and in one evening, each angel separated themselves from the pack, the gang, and gave me their symbol, which is what I called them at the time. And each symbol has 3 things in common, 4 things really. They all start at the circle. They all end where the line goes. They can all be drawn in one motion, one fluid motion. And they tend to be more masculine in power, which was a bit of a comfort for me because, I am a girl and I like things fluffy and flowy. So if it was up to me, they would have had loops and probably some lollipops and unicorns thrown in for good measure for their symbol. So I know I didn't make them up. I know it was indeed a gift from them. And what I've seen, oh, I see what you're sending me. Yes. And that's really crazy because you just sent me 2 images of oracle cards, my deck, obviously. So it's really interesting that that is indeed different with each card, even though they're both Michael's, because the company used the same exact sigil.
Really?
Yeah.
So
So the first one, angelic power, the circle is certainly much more in the center underneath the point of Michael's sword, where the embrace. So now I'm going to do this interpretation. So the angelic power, where the circle is definitely, from my visual, in direct alignment with the point of Michael's sword, it is that center.
Yeah, and that's
when
my
you're in
tattoo.
when you're in that center, that's when you're there, you're being, you have them all at that moment. So, but if I'm looking at the bottom card that you sent where it says, and the message is embrace, the circle is more in alignment with Michael's, I can't think of the hand cover. I can't think of the correct terminology. It's more opened certainly by the hilt. That because the message is he's all about not just protection, but because one of the chakras he oversees is the solar plexus, is the place of power. It's scary. And it's funny you bring that card up because that was indeed today's channeled message for social media was embrace. We have many, many, many aspects. There are things that we all would like to keep private, that we don't want to share, that we have these quirks or we have these gifts because it's unusual, because we want to be liked. But it's more open. This is what he's telling me now, that his sigil is more opened to allow those aspects that we've been hiding to enter.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at the top one you sent where the circle is underneath the point, it's almost closed, right? There is that little bit of opening, but there is it's certainly more closed. You look at the bottom one, it's allowing for more those things that we hide. So, second awakening here, which I find it so hard to believe it's only been 7 years since you're coming into your gifts, because I think you're incredible. But it's open for you to allow yourself to acknowledge this part of you, to acknowledge it, respect it, use his word, embrace it. So it enters as part of your power. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And I was always curious on why that like I call it a pendulum, why it swings, or why it
really is why I have never. That's crazy.
Or the sword itself actually opens up, or if you were to picture. Now, for my listener, I get these off of Christine Alexandria on Facebook. That's where you can go follow her on Facebook, and she posts. Like you're not here. Christine posts a number of angel-related images, and a couple of times daily. And also, you can, if you want to know a little bit more about what she's thinking and what she's talking about, go to her blog again at angelchatter.com and follow the blog there. And unfortunate thing happened that is happening, I guess, is that you like the Patriots, but that's a whole other issue.
Yes, indeed, I do.
They've won enough.
We lived in Massachusetts for 18 years, practically walking distance to what is now Gillette Stadium, used to be Foxborough Stadium. So when we first moved there, I was going to college at night, and my teacher said, I was going to the Pats game, and I had the tickets in the windshield, and I go into 7-Eleven to go get something, and I come out, and my windshield was broken. Of course, he has got me hook, line, and sinker in the story. And I'm going, I'm thinking, this is horrible. Someone broke in his car. He says, they gave me 2 more tickets. That's how bad they were when we first moved there in the early 90s. So they've come a long way. So it's kind of cool.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
See,
sure.
I'm still a Raiders fan, and they never win. So it's like that's just what we do.
Yeah.
You know you're a real fan when you follow a team that barely ever wins. So,
Yeah.
but that goes back to when I was a kid and they were winning in 100 years ago. But it's that Michael image. It really resonated with me, and that's why I took it as a tattoo. And which is really awkward because I do acting. I was in a TV series called from the movie Snowpiercer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Snowpiercer. So I was in it yesterday, and they always say, well, you have a release for your tattoos. Well, this one is from like 150 BC, so no.
Yeah.
The artist for that one is possibly dead.
Yeah.
And I have Kopapelli, which is a deity from the Southwest First Nations or American Native community, and that original artist is probably dead. Oh, and this one, I was gifted to my friend Christine, and the one who probably designed it is not earthly. So
there you go.
And they look at me and say, okay, move along. We'll cover those up. Cover those up or get some of that Dita Von D's or whatever it is, tattoo cover makeup and sit in the corner and take them off. But that's okay. I like it. And it's a conversation piece when people look at it and say, what does that mean? Well, sit down. No, here we go. James is going to talk to us for an hour again.
There you go.
Yeah. So your book, getting back to Angel Chatter, what the heck is that about? It's just basically, it's kind of your.
It's like a 101 about these 15 angels.
Okay.
And it became the base because the book came out. And then the book has become the base of my authorization course because people will come up to me and say, I want to do what you do. Oh, isn't that sweet? So I repeated this whole pattern all over again. But I listened a little bit quicker this go around. I'm like, oh, okay. You all want me to teach you? Really? Cool. So I open up this course once a year because it's an 8-month course. And I don't want the door to be, because everybody starts on the same day, but then they pretty much work at their own pace. But it becomes a very close-knit community. And if I had people just joining all willy-nilly, it wouldn't have that sense of cohesiveness in it. So it usually opens up, the first quarter of the year. And then once it starts, it's closed until the next year. And they are very firm with that. And I really don't feel like getting wing slapped on that one. So the door stays shut. I don't care how much you beg. Sorry, that's the rule. Stay with me, hang with me for the next year. And when it opens back up, come and play.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
And obviously that's pretty much a full-time gig in that 8 months.
Yeah. So the authorization group, like I said, it's a secret group on Facebook, so you can't find me. And they get hardcore products. They get that book, they get the deck, the affirmation book and deck, and then they get a set of crystals that connect with each one of those angels. And then we meet typically every other week via Facebook Live.
Okay.
And it's really cool. I answer their questions. I always have something I want to talk about. I rarely get to talk about what I want to talk about because they have another agenda. So, it's their course. I go with what they want. And a lot of last year's 2018s, we ended a lot of our sessions with me doing an impromptu guided meditation, which they loved. It did inspire me to go and record meditations. And no, they are not available on my website yet because I don't want to listen to my own voice, to be quite honest. So I have to go in and edit these babies because I have a beautiful piece of music that was composed just for me. That will be the background. Nice. So it is something I'm very excited about, but I just don't want to hear my own voice.
I do the guided meditations on YouTube, and I swear you better not do this where you got somebody like guided through meditation for an hour and I'm laying in bed and it's at the end and they're talking to you slowly and then there's a pause and they say, okay, get up. And I'm like the cartoon cat on the ceiling with my nails in the ceiling going,
Yeah.
I can't sleep now. I've like,
Yeah, that's just
yeah,
way too jarring.
yeah,
I
it's
do, my
crazy.
voice will go up, but not to that extent. I've had people, I do lectures pretty much at every show we do, the metaphysical shows. And depending on the topic, I will throw in a guided meditation towards the end. And the same thing, people will come up and they say, "Do you have that one for sale?" Actually, no, I just kind of made that one up. And they're just like, "Really?" I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Um, so apparently, again, I'm not trying to go, "Oh, isn't that sweet?" Apparently, people like listening to my voice. And that is something that is being pursued. I just haven't jumped the final little hurdle that have put up on my own doing
Well,
to take it
if
to the next step.
if I may, you have
Yes.
a mom's voice.
A mom. I'm a mom. I'm a mom.
Okay, or how the Americans say it, you have a mom's voice.
Okay,
Uh,
that's a thing or a bad thing.
I don't know. No, it's like I don't know. When I was in the third grade, your teacher would read you a book,
Hmm.
and okay, you put your heads down on your desk, and then all of a sudden it's the fifth grade. You go, what happened? I slept. It's like, but no, you have a voice of, and what I'm saying is you have a mature woman's clear, clean voice, which
Well, thank you.
it resonates to people because it's like your mother
Mm,
quietly or your grandmother talking to you
I'll go with the mom.
or a great grandmother.
Oh, now you're being
Yeah.
sarcastic.
Oh, what, me sarcastic?
No,
No,
not you.
not me. No, but it's no. I think that's why I like. I would rather. I don't listen to the men's ones. I like
Yeah.
my father would never read a book. He'd throw a book at me, but he wouldn't read it. But my mum, and that's the Canadian. It's spelled
Hmm.
with a U. Um, is yeah, it's a calming voice for
Well,
people.
thank you.
Yeah,
I'll go with
it's
that.
good. We'll go for
I'll
the
go with
calming
that.
voice.
Not
Yeah.
the great grandma version, but I'll go with the soothing and calming.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's
Okay.
a great grandmother. Well, imagine being a great grandmother, though. Boy, you would have lived a long time.
Yeah.
Well into your
Actually, I
40s.
had one of my great grandparents was very much alive. We had 5 generations at one point, which was rather cool.
Oh, that is cool. That's
And
the
but there's more.
ancestry.com at the dinner table.
I know. And but wait, there's more. We were all firstborn women,
Oh, wow.
right?
Yeah, that's that is quite a push to have
Quite a
five
little thing there
generations.
going on.
Yeah, you guys live
You know
well.
a bit more about me you probably didn't need to know.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, just you're a hardy breed, you people
We
out there.
are indeed. We are
Yeah.
indeed.
I did that ancestry.com thing and I did it the free thing for a couple of days and then I bought it because it was just
Mm,
going too crazy. I'm back on one side of my mother's family to 250 BC in
really?
yeah, in Ireland. They're all chieftains who have documented like well, to go back that far, they have to be documented somewhere else other than obviously on ancestry.com. But so there's reference to these chieftains and the different lands that they owned, and then they go over to eventually they're into the clans and chieftains in Scotland, and then carries on. And on the other side, I've got one going back to 45 AD Roman who looks after a fort in basically what's Morocco now, and his fort kind of monitored the barbarian hordes as they came into the Mediterranean. So, yeah, it's very cool. From I think my 19th great grandfather is Charles VII of France, and it goes back to the 6th, 5th, right to Charles I, Charlemagne, which I
Oh,
think everybody's
that's
related to
fascinating.
because I think he had four wives and each of them had 10 kids, who then each of those 10 kids had seven or eight, who their kids had seven or eight. So I'm pretty sure everyone's related to them.
Yeah,
And
that's fascinating. Yeah,
yeah,
I had a great aunt. I don't think I ever met her. And my maiden name is Thek. Well, there was Mary of Teck, King Edward V's consort, and she swore up and down we were related to her. She could never ever confirm that. But maybe I'll have to go look at ancestry.com and maybe we were. Never
oh,
know.
okay. Without telling ancestry.com, because I have the full version. You just tell me I can start you
Ooh.
a little thing,
Okay.
and then I'll give you manager rights on it. I did that. You know our friend Sean Whittington out of
Yeah.
Las Vegas. I did
Yes.
Sean's. We're back into the 1600s with Sean
Oh my
on one
gosh.
side. Yeah, we're bounced over to actually I think we're in France with him now. Oh no, Scotland or France, one of the two. Kind of went off on a tangent there. Yeah,
Oh,
it's very cool.
exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is really interesting. We're probably related. I've got
You are. I
I've got
wouldn't be the least bit surprised.
I've got relatives that were in came into Massachusetts on the I think it was a doctor on the Mayflower,
Oh wow.
and so there's Salem and there's Salem and where the Mayflower docked, the other place. Um, yeah, and Henry Morgan, the pirate.
Really?
Yeah,
Look
Sir
at you.
Sir Admiral Henry Morgan, governor of Jamaica, married for appearances purposes only, but had a few kids. And
Of course, I had a few kids.
yeah, but I'm thinking, well, yeah, if you're going to wear thigh-length leather boots and have a frilly shirt and be on a boat for a couple of years with a bunch of swarthy guys,
Why not?
face it, it's a pride parade float as it is. It's yeah. So, and his brother Thomas, the pirate Morgan, who after the war he was knighted and made the sheriff of London. So yeah, all sorts of weird relatives coming out of the woodwork. But yeah, we'll have to do
That's
that again.
oh, absolutely.
Don't tell anyone
Absolutely.
on ancestry.com because the Mormons, they're going to get us. But thank them for actually going out and digitally copying every page or every historic book in every church in Europe with who was born and all the census and who was born, who died, who was baptized,
Right, right.
and put it on the system so we have access to it. Christine Alexandria
That was a
off.
big trajectory off topic.
Yeah, it's the way I do things. I always think my interviews are I'm the guy you get stuck sitting beside at a wedding reception and says, "Hey, so what do you do?" And then we just ramble.
I'm
Which
right
our
there with you. I'm
and
right
our
there
well,
with you.
our friend Corby Mitlin, she gets choked when I do that. I was interviewing Corby one. Now Corby's for my listener, a wonderful energetic psychic who like taught me all about past life and things like this, and she had been like a World War I pilot in her past
Mhm.
life. Very
Yeah, she's pretty
anti-Semitic.
cool, right?
She is very cool. She would tell me a story, and I'd start telling her something about mine, and she said, and she said about one of the shows, she goes, "Okay, you do the talking now." Like she, because we're both chatty, so it was like she would say something, and I would say something, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm being interviewed. You're not."
That's right.
Yeah. So, but I love her. She's great. She's my
So that little mistake I had including her was a perfect mistake.
It was. She's great. Yeah, what Christine's referring to is she added me and Corby to a response for on what is that called on Messenger or from
Yeah,
Facebook. And
Facebook Messenger.
Corby's like, "What? Who? What?
What's going on? And you're like, hey, what? I'm like, I don't know.
I haven't
Something just
talked to
happened. So you two
Corby
take it
for a
from
long
here.
time." Now we had a super moon a while
We
ago,
did.
and tell me a little bit about the energy impact of a super moon.
So this one was really, really cool. So this is for 2019, this is the first of 3 consecutive supermoons. So we're in some really high test
Wow.
energy. But wait, there's more. There it was the third of 5th full moons at 0 degrees. Talk about a reset, James.
Okay.
I mean, this is just this great, and the fact that it starts in January, when people are already thinking about their resolutions, or I'm going to make one or not make one. If I make one, am I going to keep it? So the super moon is your average full moon, but just because of how the atmospheric conditions are, you've been blessed to see them take over your entire windshield of a car. It's just so magnificently huge. I've seen them larger, but not to that extent. So it's this moment that if you're lucky to see it, it just makes you stop. And it makes you stop and gaze at the heavens and ask, what if? And so these super moons are always a full moon, because that's when the moon, Luna, is indeed all of her brightest stuff, and she's glorious and she's yummy and she's bright. but depending on the location. So we just had a blood full moon. So it's, it's named that thanks to the Native Americans, that the wolves would be howling at the moon because they were hungry. It's the middle of winter. So there's that howl, that blood moon, the wolf moon going on. But isn't it cool at its time? It's January. We've got the super moon thing going on, and it's time to howl. It's time to speak your truth. It's time for you to be you, and it's time to have fun and take life by the horns and say yes and keep moving forward. It's a really cool moment that we just experienced, and get to experience it again in February and March of this year.
Very
so how
cool.
great is that?
Now, what did you, when you said right at the beginning, you said 0 degrees?
Yeah, so that's getting a little bit into astrological stuff, and it's something I read. It's not something I intuited. So please don't ask me much more, because astrology kind of makes my hair hurt. But I did see that, but it made perfect sense on how I was feeling energetically and what they were trying to get through to me. That it's basically reset time. So those things that haven't been, if you've been looking, if you look back a little bit of your life, and if you've been paying attention, you don't want to get the big wing slap, and you've been paying attention and being proactive on where you want to be and taking steps, no matter if they're small or large, you've been naturally resetting. You're getting rid of things that aren't to your liking anymore, whether it's your things in your house decor or how you want to be. Like, I've had clients in recent times that saying, you know what, this whole corporate thing, it's done. I'm done. I want to follow my spiritual path. I want to do this. And it's a little bit of what I do, but they want to make it their flavor, which is how it should be. And that's one of those rare shoulds. So we're at this reset moment where we can acknowledge what's really not a true reflection of who we are anymore. So what do I want to do? We don't have to jump ship completely, because sometimes it can be too scary. We need to, money's nice, right? We like having money. We like having a nice roof over our head. So don't leave your job now, but look at what would you rather be doing? Where would you like to be? Start phasing things out to help you get where you really want to be and how you want to be. So it's that 0 moment.
Okay. Alriady. That makes a little more sense. I thought you were talking about the temperature for a second.
No, well, yeah. Well, it was that cold here a few days ago.
Now, you've described 2019 as a breakthrough year.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, the angels, they give each year a theme. And they're showing me the next year's theme earlier and earlier, which does not mean I don't know 2020's yet by any means. It's way too early for that. But breakthrough, yeah, it can be your podcast is going to get picked up. It's going to be the next best thing in the world since sliced bread. Breakthrough. Breakthrough equally, and in many ways more powerful, is someone simply saying yes to them and not being afraid to take a step forward. They're saying, I love me for who I am, not what you think I ought to be doing. So it's a breakthrough. It's an aha, as Oprah would call it. I should have had a VA. It's that moment where you are recognized by yourself for your gifts, what you're good at, what you want to do. And then you begin to be recognized by others for who you are. Whether it's an authority in your field, whether you're just simply an amazing, really cool person that does past lives and all those things, or you're an author. It doesn't matter. It's that, you honor your gifts and you are now being recognized for it. Does money follow? Could, may not. It's a power. It's not becoming powerful where you're domineering, but you're becoming empowered.
Okay. That sounds like it's going to be a good year.
I think it is, because last year was the year of love, which sounds all gushy and Godiva chocolates and stuff, but it was all about self-love. I had so many clients last year that was, without even saying, that was their thing. It was my students, they have these lessons, and they can work at their own pace. I'm not behind them saying, now class, time to do this. The one that they struggle with the most across the board is Camuel, the angel of self-love. It's an
Okay.
epidemic. It's an epidemic. We downplay who we are because we don't want to appear to be bossy. We don't want to appear egotistical. But when you are simply being you, that's empowerment. That's loving yourself more to say yes to you, which is rather cool.
Oh yeah, that is kind of beyond rather cool. It's
Yeah.
it's I'm finding the empowerment for a lot of people is building slowly, but I've also seen more. They used to say, I'm going to talk about empowerment, and I'm going to mix that together with awakenings.
Mm-hmm.
Years when we first started, when I first started talking on the internet about, well, what we refer to as woo-woo sometimes, the empaths, the
Mm-hmm.
higher vibration people would come on and they say, yeah, about 5% of the population. And I keep thinking, well, like if people are awakening like I do later on in life, how do you know which is the 5%? And then I've realized lately that it's and there's actually studies done on this, so it's easy to kind of delve into that. Did you know that 50% of the population dream like you and I do twice in their lifetime? But
Yeah.
20 to 23% dream like us regularly. That is full-on movies where you can kind of control yourself in the dream, and not quite lucid dreaming. There is lucid dreaming involved, but it's, getting up and going to the bathroom in the middle of the night, come back and continue your dream.
Right.
That's only 20 to 23% of the population. So that, and all of those people that I've ever spoken to are empaths.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump out on a limb and say, yeah, we are 20 at this time, 20 to 23% of the population,
Right.
not 5%.
Yeah.
And we're still awakening. And a lot of the people I talk to, and this is this weird thing that I got when I found out. I could, not too long after I was told I was an empath, and I had no idea what that was. It wasn't too long after, well, it was a couple of months later, I could actually look at somebody and see it. And I can't explain that, but I can look at them in a photograph too.
Mm-hmm.
I can go online to Tinder or OkCupid or one of those things if I wanted a date, and I can go that one over these 10 because that one I can see as an empath.
Right.
That person's higher vibration. I would have something in common with that person. And I took a motorcycle trip down the Oregon coast, and there were times I walked into a bar in, actually I was off the coast a bit in Folsom, California.
Mm-hmm.
The only guy in the bar, there's a bartender there, and we weren't really talking or anything. And I looked at the guy and said, I got a really weird thing. I'm not hitting on you, buddy, but have you ever had your cards read? And he looked at me, a big burly guy, and said, I always wanted to do that. And I said, yeah, I think I'm supposed to read your cards. And basically left him in tears. And he was an empath. And it was basically, here's my business card, Google this word, and like leaving the silver bullet and riding off into the sunset. And I think that was my job, or my path, to point this out to people.
Yeah.
And of course, those people are primarily in service jobs or jobs where they like helping people, bartenders, waitresses, maids, butlers, teachers, nurses, doctors. They're all in these helping careers. And if they're helping, they're more in the public eye. So I see them more, or we all see them more. You walk into a restaurant or
Right, exactly.
walking down the street. So I'm constantly pointing these things out. And my friends are going, oh, here he goes again with that whole empath talk.
But
And it's
you're
always
right.
like, it always seems to be the cute waitresses. And I said, well, if you pay attention, it's not always the cute waitresses. It could
But
be
it
the grumpy cook in the back too. So let's not
Yeah,
carry
and
it away.
it stands to reason if there are of service, whether it's all those things you listed, a hairdresser, massage therapist, card readers, Reiki, or energy practitioners, they are being of service, which means they have to, if they're good at their job, great at their job, they're listening to these people. They're taking on their stuff. so to better help them.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have to be empathic. How many, hairdressers is very much a form of a bartender. Let me just tell you about my life. Blah. And thankfully, the hair goes on the floor, as do many of your woes. But that stylist is left holding this garbage bag that was just dumped on them.
Oh, Lord, yes.
Right? So it's people that are empathic, and you know this. It's learning how to protect yourself better energetically. It's learning how to cut those beautiful energy cords so you're not carrying everybody's crap on your back. That's one of the things that I think that can hold many, many people back that want to get or become recognize, using all these words, more spiritual, because they're afraid of opening up. Your big burly friend at the bar, I'm a guy's guy, I'm burly, I'm a biker dude, yeah, I can't be seen crying. Guys don't cry. Can't be sensitive. Grow up, you're a guy. That's society. But when you acknowledge that, we're all people, right?
Yep. Sort of.
Yeah, okay, yeah, like that too. Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. Well, I am. I found that it's been coming faster too. Like my hit in 2012. People are now really kind of rolling with this psychic awakening, this energetic awakening, and I look at what has happened in the last 15 years with television shows on the paranormal.
Right.
They've kind of influenced another generation of people saying, well, yeah, could be. Like the what if. So if there is a ghost, and my daughter's gone through this. She's very, very high empath, and did suffer from all her friends dumping their problems on her, and which resulted in high anxiety and her coming home, like just wanting to be left alone. But she was the best listener. She gave the best hugs. Oh, I feel so good after talking to you, or in her case, dumping all my problems on you. And
Yes.
she didn't understand it. And she, just became unruly to live with, until I took her to a psychic who said, oh my God, your friggin' daughter's an empath through the roof. And she taught her how to block. Her reading, she had a reading for about 20 minutes and 40 minutes on how to block. And all of a sudden, she was no longer oppositional and defiant. She was just mellow, and she could sleep through the whole night.
Yeah. Our youngest is very much the same way. And it's true. And if it's left unchecked, I think, argue with me, confirm with me, those empaths can then develop autoimmune disorders, because that's such a tricky umbrella medical terminology, because it means the doctor doesn't know what's wrong with you. Is it fibromyalgia? Is it chronic fatigue? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? But because they're so empathic, they've taken on so much crap from so many people, often for decades, they ultimately get sick, physically sick, and are constantly drained because they haven't really learned how to protect themselves and to carry and to block. Thankfully, as your daughter did, where she could then just be, and not have to worry who was going to hit her up next.
Yeah, it is actually amazing on how she grew out of that, how she learned how to block and not worry about the things. But what I kind of wanted to go with this side of the things was she was going through that time where, like, she had her opposition to organized religion kind of hat on.
Sure.
And she said, well, I haven't seen God, but the psychic talked to her about angels, and she pointed out her angels and things like that. So she believed in angels. Then the conflict was, well, if I believe in angels, I have to believe in God. And I said, hey, just believe in anything you want.
Exactly.
You have angels. Yeah. It's like, but she'll come out of it. She's happy in her life right now. She's not completely insane. Even though I'm her dad, she's hasn't caught that from me.
Kudos to her.
Yeah, no kidding. I've always said, she said, Daddy, do you have rules about dating? And I said, no, you have rules about dating. I just help you enforce them.
Yeah.
You go off and do what you want, you old woman, at the age of 19.
There you go.
Yeah, she's a good kid, and all the
Sounds
best
like
to her and things. But at least she got over that bump of being highly, highly energetic, and therefore able to. Oh my God! Like she was just being attacked by every little bit in the neighborhood
oh,
that
and it's, and
wanted to
it's
come up.
it can literally be debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
And and especially if they're riding the school bus, that there's this cacophony of non-stop noise on the bus. Our daughter would come home and she would just be in tears.
Yeah.
And do you want me to come pick you up? No, I want to be again. I want to be with everybody else. I want to be not weird. So she would come home from school, and I gave her an hour to decompress. Here's your afternoon treat that I made you, so I know it's quasi good stuff, and we'll sit and talk, we'll play a game, you can watch something silly on TV. She had just needed that complete energetic foam around her, just to simply digest and get the stuff out of her as best
Oh
she
yeah.
could. And I didn't know what I know now. If I knew more back then, it's always that parent thing. If I knew more back then, I could have helped her more. But we did the best I could every afternoon with her. But it was an everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
Every single day, she would just come home looking shell shocked.
Yep. Yeah,
And
that's.
you lived it, so you understand that.
Oh yeah. It was like I said, looking at it, and it was almost I could see it as being debilitating for her.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And that's how I saw it with my daughter as well.
yeah, we're talking to Christine Alexandria, way on the other side of the country. Well, actually,
Yeah.
if you live on the East Coast of the U.S., it's not that far from you.
It's not that.
Yeah,
We're in the middle of the country in the East Coast.
yeah. Oh yeah, you're down east.
Yes, we are
As
down
opposed
east.
to up east. Yeah, I'm in the lower left coast of my country. People call it the Pacific Northwest. I'm thinking, no, I'm in the Southwest. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, northwest of your country, southwest of my Pacific Southwest. Cascadia.
I
A
love it.
whole other location. You have a great blog, and again, we're just talking about the breakthrough year of 2019. One of the things you mentioned in your blog is clearing your space energetically.
Yes.
How do we go about doing that?
Oh gosh, it is an ongoing adventure in my world. So there's a very.
Why do we need to clear
Why
our
do
space?
you want to? Oh my God, why wouldn't you? So when everybody has a junk drawer, right?
Yeah.
Right, at least one. And it gets to a point that it may turn into 2 or 3 because the junk drawer has gotten full. You have no clue what's in it, but it's the junk drawer and it's now full and overflowing and hard to close. Why wouldn't you want to clear it out in order to make room? So that it's just a small example. I have a bookshelf in my office where I'm sitting. Every single shelf has space for at least 3 more books to be added. Aesthetically, for me, it's pleasing, it's calmer, but energetically, it tells the universe, give me more wisdom. I'm ready for more. So by clearing your stuff, your clutter, it makes way for the room, makes way for more. So if my bookshelves were chock full and I go and buy another book, I am now left to, do I take a book out and shove this one in, or I start doing I'm going to start stacking them on top of each other. And at some point, maybe they won't fall down, hopefully, maybe. So it creates space, which creates ease. That's why you clutter clear. And then after the physical stuff is gone, you then energetically clear the space, and it's amazing. So we had a beach house, and our eldest was down there at her summer job and was there ahead of me. I go down, and she's working when I arrive. I'm like, wow, she cleaned. This is amazing. This is wow. And she comes home from work that day. I said, wow, thanks for cleaning. And she looked at me and she smiled very coyly at me. She goes, Mom, I didn't clean. I just cleared the house. So, but that's what it felt like. It felt like she had cleaned. The energy felt yummy.
Hmm.
So by clearing it, we all have stuff. We've been talking about it. The empaths, you and me, our daughters, empathic. You bring stuff in your home, and our homes are supposed to be sacred space, right? Our castle.
Yep.
If we're dumping stuff energetically, it doesn't go down the toilet. It just hangs around the house, and the house begins to feel heavy. We've all seen you do different things at night investigating, and you've seen houses that in the light of day they're disarming because they're just so heavy with energy. They're falling down, or they're just everything about them just screams heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Our homes are no different. We're just living in it, and we don't notice it right away because we're in it. Clearing energy is really imperative. I clear the house before every private client, want it to be their best weekend ever. And I clear the house after every private client weekend because I don't want their crap in the house anymore.
Yeah.
They're dumping left and right during, coaching sessions, energy treatments, dinner conversation. They're just all weekend long. They're purging, which is great. That's what I want them to do. I don't want to take the stuff on. So they leave Sunday, the house gets cleared again on Sunday.
Well, that's a good way of doing it. Just, you don't know what they're bringing in anyway, so.
No, a couple years ago, it was right after the shooting in Vegas, and client came in that weekend and never would think of the 6-degree thing when it came to this, but this is how it all goes. Her husband's in the reservist. She's having an energy treatment, and the lights flicker. Ooh, that's cute. They're here. Ha ha ha. Downplayed it.
Yeah.
Didn't give it another thought. She leaves. I do one of the things I do for my self-care, which I'm taking this big old detox salt bath, and the lights go out completely. Now, there is no storm. There is no logical reason for power to go out. None. I screamed like a little girl. And by the time my husband got into, he says, "Are you okay?" The lights came back on. I said, yeah, I'm fine. He says, "What's going on?" I said, "We have a visitor." And he went, "Yeah, okay, that's your territory, not mine." And he leaves. So I figured out it was actually the shooter came with my client because he found the connection of the reservist, came piggybacked with her on the ride up, decided that I could help him. I failed to get the memo. So I had it then. So I had a little talk with him, had a little talk with Azrael, the angel of transition. I was like, this guy's got to go. He's not hanging out in my home. And within minutes, he was indeed gone and going on his soul's journey, which did not include hanging out in my home anymore. So it happens. It happens unawares. My home was very protected energetically, but my clients come in, I welcome you in. I'm not checking who's following you. People show up. You're bringing energy and portals open up, stuff surfaces. So that's why I still clear my home on a regular basis.
Yeah, I use Palo Santo wood.
Yeah. I've used it before, and Palo Santo for me has never wanted to stay lit. And I did what most people do, which is sage, until we lived in Baltimore, and that gorgeous house in Baltimore, again, relatively new in the scheme of things. But every time I sage, it was nice for a day or two, and then the bottom would open up again. The weirdest, crappiest things would happen. We had a young man living with us, not biologically related to anybody. And long story short of his story, his not a very good life story by any means, but he was becoming this conduit where this crappy energy was really coming in through him and creating literally havoc throughout the entire house. And I learned then that sage actually can feed certain energies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, did not know that. So, as a precautionary measure, because I admit I am lazy and I'm not going to want to go sage and then find out that I just fed something and made it worse, I don't sage anymore. So now I only use my Zadkiel candle because it works with the energy of the violet flame. So that's simply transmuting. It's taking the crap and making it really pretty again. And that is the only clearing product I use because it works. And
is that something you sell too?
yeah.
Okay.
It's the Zadkiel can. It's in my aromatherapy section. So when I clear any property, mine or clients, I will set the intention. What do I want? What energy do I want here? How do I want this to fit? Do I want it to be happy? Do I want it to be healing? Do I want it to be blah, blah, blah? So as I'm clearing with the Zadkiel candle, always starting at the topmost floor, working from that far left corner and working counterclockwise. And certainly if the house hasn't been done or the place hasn't been done in a long time, every closet door, every cabinet, every drawer gets opened because lower energies can be quite sneaky and go off hiding. So everything gets opened and cleared out. But while I'm clearing that, I have another candle lit. That's my intention for that space. So
okay.
I have my client space in the lower level, which is the fancy word for basement in this area, but it's beautifully decorated and all that. So clearing that space, I'm clearing with Zadkiel, but I've got Raphael going because ultimately that's what's happening in that space is healing for my client, whether they're on the table for an energy treatment or they're sitting with me at the official reading table and we're working with cards, etc.
Okay.
So that's the energy that then gets implemented within that space.
Yeah, I've explained it to people too as when these items we burn at a very high vibration.
Yeah.
And they push lower vibration out like oil pushing water.
Exactly. That's a great way to describe it. Oil pushing water. I like that. And you're right. And it's really cool. We have 2 cats. Both, were adopted many years ago. Both super sensitive. So whenever I pull out the crystals or I start clearing, they're like, "Ooh, what are you doing?" I won't have a clue where they're hiding that day or where they're, what throne they're laying on, as I go about my day. But the minute I start doing energetic work, they're all over it. So it confirms to me that what we're doing, that oil to water, is real because animals don't lie. They don't have a preconceived notion. They just know something's happening and it feels good.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, I like this. Let's play with this now."
Yeah. And just a heads up too is that some of the human lower vibrations that we deal with, we can push them out and they will actually just hang out outside until it clears.
Exactly.
And then they come back in and people don't realize that, okay, I pushed it out. Everything's gonna be good for another 6 months.
No.
It's if they want to be there, that could be a whole other conundrum you're going to end up having to deal with, and you may have to go outside of the normal self-clearing.
And I agree. I have a client who lives in Gettysburg, and she's like, "I don't know what's going on in this house." And we did some clearing, and she was doing it. And I go, "No, it's not right." We realized that a portal had naturally opened up in her home. So she's getting all these soldiers and everybody else coming through her home to go back home. And like, okay, this can't be going on. You guys need peace. You need some order because, there's a big decluttering adventure going on physically in their home. We don't need to add the energy to it to make it more difficult. So we literally moved the portal just off their property line. And it's been stationary there for well over a year. I think it's going on 2, maybe 3 years, or I don't remember how long. And she checks in on it on a regular basis. And they are now millions that go through there on any given day. Sometimes, maybe it's only a couple thousand. but there are days that millions will be going through. And it does seem to be taking on even more of a life of its own, of the energies that are attending this specific portal, whether it's Azrael helping them to transition, or Michael. We set up a very strong perimeter energetically of protection, so it
Good.
doesn't
I was
move.
going to talk. Yeah, I was going to ask you about
Yeah, yeah, we set up that energy protection, so it is stationary. It's not moving unless we consciously choose to move it. So if and when she ever moves from that home, it can stay there if she wants to, because it's not going to affect anybody else who moves into that home. But this specific portal, because it's located in Gettysburg, seems to be attracting, believe it or not, a lot of the earthbounds, the ghosts that have been connected to various wars, whether it's the Civil War, obviously, Gettysburg, the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, or many of the other skirmishes that happened that don't have an official name. That's who she's seeing coming through more and more. Now, there's also, it's been an interesting revelation that, as you know, there are ley lines throughout the world. And the ley lines, people will go to the ley line that connects with their energy. So even though someone may die in Gettysburg, they may not go to that portal. They're going to go to the ley line that connects with them energetically. So it's been rather fascinating on how the portal is now teaching us.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I think that's if you want to write a book, that would be a good one.
Right.
Because what you're doing is in moving the portal and doing your blocking and doing your protection on it, you've created something that is evolving and is growing, and you can sit back and watch how it does grow, and make some notes on it, on how it changes year to year, month to month, and what information you're getting from the other side on how it's working. That's fascinating.
It's extremely fascinating. We were traveling north just last weekend, and we went through this town called Havre de Grace. It's in Maryland. And I'm seeing these soldiers all over the place, and I'm going, it's not Civil War. So I asked my husband, he's a history buff. I said, was there a Civil War skirmish here? He goes, no. He says, but Revolutionary War in 1812. I'm like, oh, why? I go, because there's soldiers over there. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm keeping driving. And so I sent a message to my client. I said, you've got incoming. Let me know what happened. She goes, well, it's all quiet. And about a half hour later, she wrote back. She goes, they had to fall into formation.
Oh, yeah.
They arrived in formation and literally set up camp.
Very cool.
You could see the smoke from the campfires. You could hear the harmonicas. There's a couple other instruments that she mentioned that I can't recall at the moment that she was hearing. And they rested there for the night. And she goes, yep, they left the next morning.
That's kind of cool.
They went. It's very, very cool. Very, very cool. So this is happening more and more. So now that we have a defined location for these, mostly gentlemen, but it's not, certainly the war affected everybody. So we had, the nurses, the camp followers, and all of that. They are also part of this military contingent that is going through. So bit by bit, we are helping to clean up Gettysburg, not just itself, but certainly the outlying areas. And I'm hoping we are not the only people that are setting up these portals throughout the world to help those that have been stuck earthbound to go home so they can rest and do what they want to do.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah. It is very cool. It's not actually something I talk about a lot, but you got it out of me. It's one of those things
I dragged the kicking and screaming from you.
You did. Yeah, it's just one of those things I just naturally do. This is just part of who I am. And is it advertised on my site? No, but it's just part of what I do.
See, and I'm going to I'd like to go back to Gettysburg this year. And this is one of the things, it's one of the places I want to send people. And I'll jump in really quick with my little my commercial that you and I talked about, and maybe get your opinion on what I plan to do. It's that if my listener wants to go to our website at theoracleswithjamestyson.com and click on the Patreon link. And if you believe that these little podcasts are worth $3 a month to you, I'm going to be drawing, once we get about 10, 15 people, we'll start drawing once a month for allowing, or we'll pay for a free psychic reading or a past life regression and a past life regression. There'll be 2 draws. We may end up getting those down to once a week or once every 2 weeks, or then eventually once a week for a draw. When it gets up to 2,222 people, we'll be drawing for trips that you'll take with me. So if I'm going to Gettysburg, I will pay for airfare, accommodation, and car rental. If you live in LA or Seattle or Toronto or something and have never been there and you like ghosts, and you'll come with me and we'll do all the ghost tours and all the history stuff, and I'll probably interview you and a few of the people I'll meet down there. And let's say if you like UFOs, we can send you to a UFO conference or to the Bigfoot conference or whatever conferences you'd like, or whatever locations you would like to go to that are with your interests, ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, paranormal, anything. We will let you tag along. And I don't want to give these away as a gift, because I'm just thinking that would be a taxable benefit to some people. So all it is you're going to go along and help me, and I'll interview you. And so that's a trip for 2. And at 4,500 people, the max signed up for our Patreon at $3 a month, we'll go to Europe and Australia, maybe down to South America. So that's what I'm doing. What do you think of that?
I think it's amazing. Sign me up, baby. I think it's great. I think
Okay.
it's brilliant. It's a way for people to stay connected, to not win anything, right?
Yeah.
But to become more involved in this community. And I see you building it not just from the monthly donation side point, but there's a community where people are going to have, I mean, I don't even know what to call it anymore, but within on your website or connected, certainly, where people can talk about this, about, the oracles and the UFOs and the ETs and the ghosts and the angels. I think it's brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's I kind of really hope everyone jumps into it and gets going, because I really would like to travel a bit more and see these places, and I would love to take. And it doesn't mean, the other thing too is, it doesn't mean that, okay, and I use Gettysburg always for an example because I've been there and I know there's so much to see. It's not like a 2-day thing. It's like you're going to be there for a week minimum. But it also doesn't mean that if I pull your name, if we're going to go there in a specific time of year, I may pull 2 or 3 or 4 couples to go. So we're all going to go as a group. And I tell you, there's some really cool Airbnbs there and houses from the late 1600s and 1700s that are near downtown and near the battlefield and near where the field hospitals were, in local barns that are still there and haven't been really changed. It's just haunted as heck.
Certainly when you come to Gettysburg this year, we're going to have to connect, because we're an hour and a half from that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So
definitely.
That would
and
be
that's
very, very much fun.
Yeah. And same with Tombstone or Sedona. If you want to come up and watch, if you ever really want to see a UFO, my Lord, I did that in June in Sedona with night vision goggles, looking at them coming out of a portal.
Right.
It's with.
I haven't done it with the night goggles, but I have seen,
gosh.
I have pictures of it, and it blows your mind, doesn't it?
Well, they're traveling in groups.
Yeah.
And like you kind of flash a little laser at them, and they'll stop and they'll power up and they'll get about 10 times brighter, get back down again. It's like they're flashing lights at you and continue. I had one going towards the portal. There was 2 of them going towards the portal. One stopped, one kept going. And then another one just came out of the portal, and the one coming in powered up. And then the one coming out powered up. It's like they were flashing their high beams at each other as they were going.
I love it. I love it. I have a student out there right now. I'm going to send her a message when we're done and say, hey, go invest in a pair of night goggles. You'll thank me later.
No, night goggles are $4,000. So what she's going to do?
I'm going to tell her to do it anyway.
She's going to have to look up Melinda Leslie. Okay. Go down to the woo-woo office. There's an area there what's got a lot of they sell crystals, a lot of psychics, and a lot of metaphysical gear. And Melinda Leslie works out of there at night. Every night she takes a group up to a location where a portal was pointed out to her by some people from NASA. And I don't mean Nassau in the Bahamas. It's NASA
Right.
came out and said, I would look up there if I were you
Okay.
and watch that. And sure enough, I think I was in there in June. She was over 800 some tours up there, and they only, out of 850 whatever it was, tours that she put up there or took up, only one night they didn't see anything.
That's amazing.
They saw them in as many as groups of 9 flying. And satellites do not fly in formation. You can't launch satellites to kind of bump up. And I went up there going, oh, okay, let's see if this works. And I was like, oh, I'm just giddy at this point.
Yeah, I can
They're
hear
flying
you.
all over the place.
Yeah,
It was great. Yeah, tell her Melinda Leslie is the lady to get a hold of. She's a
What store is it?
I am going to go on the Google net right now.
Okay, send me the information. Yeah, because you tell me Woo Woo store in Sedona. What store isn't Woo Woo?
Yeah, I know. And excuse me, what people up there aren't woo woo?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an eclectic group. I got to tell you,
It is indeed. It is. Indeed. I'm thinking of taking a group out there this year myself. So
I did actually bump into my wife from the 1700s, where we lived in a little house, kind of the old Germanic style. Oh, I guess it'd be Little House on the Prairie kind of house from the U.S. in the 1700s. Married young, died at old age. And I walked into it, and she worked in a crystal shop. And I went in to look at some books. I wanted to interview a fellow up there, and I wanted to get a couple of his books. And I walked in, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and it was like, I know you from somewhere. And she did the same thing. So we exchanged phone numbers, and we chatted a lot. And as I was leaving, I left and came back. There was a lady doing readings at the front. I said, I'm going to have a psychic reading. So she's talking to me, she's doing a reading, and she said, oh my God, you just bumped into a wife from another life you had. And I said, really? And she looked at me and said, yeah, it was. And then she gave the girl's name who works in the store at the back of that building. And I went, yeah, that's why we connected. So yeah, we hung out. The young lady and I hung out for about a week, and we talked woo woo. So yeah, it was really, really good. It's let's see, not the UFO Center. It is book a tour. The Center for New Age.
Oh, okay.
It's called the Center for the New Age. 341 State Route 179, Sedona, Arizona, or actually just Google Melinda Leslie. For goodness sakes.
I'll figure it out from there.
Yeah, I've actually did a videotape interview with Melinda that's coming out in a bit, and Melinda's actually a survivor of a UFO abduction. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's an incredibly interesting lady with an amazing, with a really funny laugh too. So that was kind of good. And yeah, so do that. We're gonna hook up and bring hubby, and we're gonna hook up in Gettysburg, and I'll introduce you to a fellow there that I talked to. I should bring him on again. He used to work in Gettysburg running the tours for the state. He was one of the guys who talked out there, and he now has a ghost tour. And in his shop on the main drag in Gettysburg, on one wall, he has pictures that tourists took and sent to him when he was a tour guide. And it'll be Mom, Billy, Dad, and then 2 Confederate soldiers. And he would say, yeah, there's people come in and say, you've got some really good Civil War reenactors here. And he'd say, yeah, we don't have reenactors here.
Yeah, we don't have those.
Yeah, what you saw. And, this guy helped us. He was kind of really disheveled, and we were down in this local area, and he came up and wanted to tell us, we weren't too far from the area we're looking for, and had quite an accent. And the guy said, well, it's like, did he look like this? And described him again. And yeah, that was him. I said, yeah, he's a ghost. He was one of the commanders of the Texas Volunteers. Wow. Very common, very, very common, helping people out. He walked up to a kid with a Texas flag in his T-shirt, and he looked at him and said, "Texas," and the kid looked on his shirt and smiled and looked back up, and the fellow was gone.
Yeah.
Full description, same guy. He's still out there helping as he can.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to let you go. I want you to get going back to make some oracle cards that I want to get. And I got to ask you one more question.
What's that?
You sell angel bells.
I do.
And now I have a motorcycle and I have a bell on it, but I would like a Michael bell, and they're sold out.
Oh dear. Yes. I will update.
Fix that.
We do have literally very few in stock. We have quite a few on order.
Okay.
But yes, I will go and take care of that for you.
Because I want to get somebody, because the way I understand how these things work is you can't buy them for yourself.
That is how the legend goes.
You buy them and give it to somebody else. So then I have to point out, this is what I want.
Right.
And then have my kid buy it for me.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
And then I have a friend.
Apparently, the guardianship doesn't work for the motorcycles if you buy it for yourself. I'm not quite sure why.
I have no idea, but
yeah, I don't either. But that is, why mess with what has been a consistent legend? Yeah. And yes, someone will have to buy it for you.
I had this conversation with some very religious Christians, like who rode motorcycles, and we were talking about angels and elemental beings and things like that. Well, we don't believe in elemental beings. Well, yeah, you do. You just call them demons. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Right.
And I said, well, would you do you guys bless your motorcycles? Oh, we bless the motorcycles. Yeah. But demons or anything like that. No, we don't worry about them. And I said, well, what do you have angel bells for? Well, that's to keep the,
There you go. Gotcha.
Elementals from running out in front of you, right? We call them demons. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. You pagan, you. No, don't tell me you're pagan.
Don't tell me that. I'm not that new.
Oh, don't. Yeah, but it's cute. It's funny, and I always surround my motorcycle in a energy that looks like a submarine, big, long. I project it way out front, way out back, and far off on the sides. And I get Michael to hang out with me, and when I ride and we do that, I ask for one of his, if he's too busy, I'll ask him to send a Legionnaire down to go riding with me. And then
I do the same thing whenever I get in the car to travel, especially if it's any kind of long distance. I mentioned we were traveling this weekend, coming home, and I don't know what was going on in Philadelphia. Those people were driving like they were on the Autobahn. We're already going 10 miles above the speed limit, which is unusual. And people were passing us like we were standing still. I don't know what they were racing from or to, but it was something apparently quite amazing or quite scary because it went on for almost an hour. You better believe I was talking to Michael the whole time.
Yeah.
And
Michael's going, I'm busy in Philadelphia right now. I'll get to you in a minute.
People are crazy.
Oh, yeah. Christine, line 2. I'm just putting you on hold. We've got an event in. Okay. Hey, I'm going to kick you out again. Like I said, I want to really thank, because the music is playing in the background here, so I know you're going to have to go soon. I want to thank you very much. We've been talking to Christine Alexandria. Please drop into her website, angelchatter.com. Follow her on Facebook. See what she's got coming and going. If you get a chance to order her book, Angel Chatter, Heavenly Guidance and Earthly Practice to Connect with Angels. If you like angels, you're going to love this book. Again, thank you very much, Christine, for dropping by, and I hope we don't have to go 2 years before you drop in again.
Oh, no. This 2 years is unacceptable. So thank you so much for reconnecting. I loved it. I had a blast. This collective, the royal collective that we're going on right now. So thank you so much, and look forward to next time.
That's it. Let's roll. And hey! Let's be careful out there.
Far over the snow, what are those voices? They sing and they go. What are those voices? like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. We are after you, dead or alive. We are out to get you, dead or alive. And forget yourself. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done. Throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man that after now. Run through the hair.